There are some things a man sees clear as day, and some he sees too late because he doesn't want to believe what's right in front of him. I saw it early on. Hell, I saw it before I even said, I do. Stacy Matthews. Even her name makes my jaw tighten. Emma and I met like most people do these days, through mutual friends and a well-placed Instagram story. She was smart, funny, sweet with this sort of low-key fire behind her eyes. I liked that she could laugh at my bluntness and didn't flinch when I said what I meant. We had a good thing back when it was just us. But it was never just us, was it? Stacy came as part of the deal. Her best friend since 5th grade, sorority sister, ride or die, and the kind of woman who treated any man in Emma's life like an unwelcome guest in her kingdom. She played polite when I was around, but every hug felt stiff, every compliment loaded. It wasn't what she said. It was the way she said it. Always a slight twist to the knife. Oh wow, you actually fixed that sink yourself? That's impressive. Or Emma told me you work construction. Blue-collar men are so underappreciated these days. She wasn't joking. She was probing. I swallowed it. You do that when you love someone. You pick your battles. And I wasn't going to start a war with her best friend before the wedding even happened. But the signs kept coming. Small things that built into something heavier. Take the bridal fittings. I wasn't supposed to be there. Emma had asked me to pick up dinner. I showed up early, walked into the boutique, and there they were. Emma, beaming in her gown, and Stacy in some shimmering silver number that looked like it belonged on a runway, not in the background of someone else's ceremony. When I walked in, Stacy saw me, smirked and said, "Well, guess I'm the second most beautiful woman in the room." I didn't laugh. Neither did Emma. But she didn't say anything either. Or the way Stacy threw herself into the planning. She pushed to write a toast. She pushed to change the playlist. She even lobbied to walk down the aisle solo for the photo symmetry. I pulled Emma aside and said, "This isn't her wedding." She gave me that soft, sweet look, one that always made my temper lower just enough, and said, "She just wants to help. She's excited for us." As if us ever meant me and her. Truth is, Stacy was excited for Emma, and maybe for the power she thought she still had over her. Whatever it wasn't healthy. I should have pressed harder. Should have said no more interference. But I didn't. I let it slide because I believed things would change once we were married. Once the ring was on her finger, once we built a home of our own, Stacy would fade into the background like a college roommate who didn't realize graduation had passed. Instead, she stepped closer. At the reception, Stacy hijacked the mic during the toasts. I'll never forget it. She clinked her glass and raised her voice. "I just want to say," she began, already tipsy from champagne, "that no matter what happens, no matter what, Emma and I are soulmates first." Then she turned to me with this smug grin and added, "You just get to borrow her for a while." Some people laughed. I didn't. I looked at Emma. She just smiled and shook her head, brushing it off like some silly joke. But it wasn't a joke. It was a warning, and I felt it deep in my gut. The kind of gut check you don't shake off. I was being told to my face that this marriage had a third wheel, and that wheel wasn't about to roll away quietly. Still, I bit my tongue. Told myself this was wedding chaos. High emotions. Old friendships clashing with new beginnings. It'd settle. Didn't. That was the first night I realized something unspoken between us. Stacy wasn't going anywhere, and Emma wasn't going to make her. I woke up the next morning in a hotel bed next to my new wife and felt more like a placeholder than a partner. But I stayed quiet, because I loved her, because I believed in for better or worse, because I hadn't yet learned that sometimes worse wears a bridesmaid dress and smiles while cutting you out of your own damn life. You think when the honeymoon ends, life settles into something manageable, routine, maybe even dull in the right kind of way. I was ready for that. Give me a leaky faucet, a grocery run, a quiet night with a movie and her head on my shoulder. I'll take that over fireworks any day. But Stacy never left. Not emotionally, not mentally, and, it seemed, not physically either. At first, it was just the weekends. Emma would say, "Stacy's feeling low," or "She's had a tough week." and suddenly my Saturday plans turned into a third-person hangout. Every damn time. I'd come home from the job site filthy, exhausted, ready for peace, and instead I'd find her on our couch, drinking our wine, talking over whatever Emma and I were saying like this was her place. I remember one night, I got 2 tickets to a concert Emma had been talking about for weeks. Came home proud, hands still calloused from the framing job I wrapped up early just to make it happen. Stacy was there, of course. Emma's face lit up when I told her, but before she could even grab her coat, Stacy piped in with, "Ooh, you know I love them too." Emma looked at me like a deer in headlights. I smiled, said nothing, and gave the extra ticket to a guy from work the next morning. That's the kind of man I am. I don't throw scenes. I log things. I remember. I tried being civil. I tried subtle nudges. Maybe we take a weekend to ourselves. Or, let's go out just the 2 of us. Every time Emma hesitated. But Stacy's been going through a lot. She already made plans with us. Don't make her feel excluded. Excluded? From what? My marriage. At some point, it wasn't just me trying to get alone time with my wife. It was me fighting for air in a relationship that now had 3 voices, and mine didn't carry as much weight. They had their inside jokes, their shorthand, their you wouldn't understand glances. I started feeling like a visitor in my own home. I'd speak up in a conversation and they'd exchange a look, like I was being sensitive, like I didn't get it. What I got was that I wasn't crazy, that this wasn't what marriage was supposed to feel like, and that somewhere deep down, Emma had stopped thinking of me as her first call because Stacy had always been her first call. I brought it up one night, calmly, clearly. We were having dinner, candles lit, music low, just us. It was rare. I said, "I need to feel like I have a marriage with you, not you and Stacy." She set her fork down, real slow, like I'd insulted her dog. "Why are you always making it a competition?" "I'm not," I said. "But you can't tell me it's normal for your best friend to be at our place 5 nights a week, or to weigh in on our personal decisions like she's got a stake in this marriage." "She cares about me," she said, voice cold now. "She was there long before you. She's just protective." "Protective," I said, leaning forward. "Or possessive." That hit a nerve. She got quiet, real quiet, stared at her plate like she wanted to throw it. Then she stood up and walked away, no reply, no resolution. After that, the tension just simmered. Stacy didn't come over quite as much, but when she did, it was icy. She'd hug Emma, skip me, talk to her like I wasn't in the room. I didn't rise to it. I just logged it. Every dig. Every moment Emma stayed silent when she should have defended me. Every little way I was being phased out by someone who never should have been in to begin with. And the worst part? Emma seemed blind to all of it. Or maybe she just didn't want to see. Maybe acknowledging Stacy was overstepping meant admitting she'd let it happen. That she'd allowed her best friend to sit between us like some twisted gatekeeper, deciding which parts of me Emma got to love, and which parts were too much. I wasn't perfect. I know that. I worked long hours. I wasn't great with words. I didn't always say the right thing. But I showed up. I provided. I tried. And more than anything, I wanted a marriage that felt like it belonged to us. Not to some third-party consultant with a wine habit and a grudge against men who actually earned their calluses. It hit me one night, real late, when I was up fixing a busted garbage disposal alone. Shirt drenched, knuckles bleeding from the wrench slipping. Emma and Stacy were upstairs laughing about something I wasn't part of, like I didn't live there, like I was just maintenance staff. That's when I finally said to myself, this isn't how I go out. I'm not going to fade into the wallpaper of my own damn life. I didn't say anything that night. I just tightened the pipe, wiped my hands, and stared at the floor for a long time. It was the beginning of the end. I didn't know how or when yet, but I knew I'd be drawing the line soon. Because a man can only be a ghost in his own marriage for so long before something breaks. And it wasn't going to be me. It started with a knock on the door. Rushed, frantic, like someone needed a place to cry, not crash. I'd just gotten home from a 10-hour shift on a roofing job. Sweat-soaked, sunburned, still smelling like tar. I wanted a beer, a sandwich, maybe a half hour of silence. Instead, I walked into chaos. Stacy. Mascara streaked down her face like a kid finger painting her tears. She had 2 duffel bags and a Bluetooth speaker under her arm. "He left me?" she wailed, stepping over the threshold like it was already her house. I had nowhere else to go. I looked at Emma. She looked at me, and I knew. She'd already said yes. "It's just for a night," Emma promised. "Yeah, sure." By day 4, I was stepping over Stacy's laundry just to get to the damn coffee maker. She took over the guest room, and by took over, I mean exploded in it. Bras on the lamps, wet towels on the carpet, makeup smeared across the bathroom mirror like war paint. She played sad pop breakup music at all hours, walked around in a robe that wasn't hers, and parked herself in my spot on the couch like she was the paying tenant and I was the roommate. I held my tongue for a while. I figured, give it a week, maybe 10 days. She'd cry it out, find another guy to leech off and move on. Nope. Week 2 came and went. No job search. No sign she was looking for a new apartment. Just morning mimosas, Instagram selfies, and girls' nights that started at 3 p.m. with white wine and ended with her passed out in our recliner, snoring through my news channel like she owned the damn thing. I finally said something quietly, carefully. "Emma?" I asked one night as we lay in bed. "How much longer is she staying?" She sighed like I just asked her to sell a kidney. "She's going through a lot, Michael." "So am I," I said. "Like working 60 hours a week to come home and dodge someone else's underwear on the floor." "She doesn't have anyone else," she snapped. "She's family to me. And I'm your husband," I said, sitting up. "And I'm telling you, this is starting to feel like an ambush." That was the first time Emma didn't argue. But she didn't act either. The next week, I came home and found Stacy in one of my shirts, an old work flannel I kept in the hall closet. She was barefoot in the kitchen, cooking like she'd lived here for years, telling Emma how men just don't get it. When I walked in, she glanced at me like I was an intruder, like I was the guest. Something inside me cracked. I dropped my tool bag, walked straight to the fridge, pulled out a beer, took a long sip and said, without raising my voice, "You have 48 hours to find a new place. Not 49, not 72, 48. Then I want my house back." Emma's eyes widened. Stacy went pale, like someone had slapped her. "You can't be serious," Stacy laughed, nervously. "Emma, I'm not talking to you," I cut in. "I'm talking to my wife, in my house, that I pay for." Stacy opened her mouth. Emma stepped in, finally, and said, Maybe it's time." Stacy's jaw dropped. "You're choosing him over me?" Emma didn't answer. That was the answer. Stacy stormed out of the kitchen, muttering something about betrayal and being used. I didn't follow. I didn't care. I stood there in that kitchen, beer in hand, heart pounding, and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Control. She was gone 2 days later. Didn't say goodbye. Just left a mess in the guest room and a passive-aggressive note on the fridge that read, "Some people don't understand loyalty. Sad." You're right, Stacy. I don't understand loyalty to toxicity, to intrusion, to grown women who weaponize victimhood like a badge of honor. That night, Emma sat beside me on the couch, just the two of us for the first time in weeks, and didn't say much. She rested her head on my shoulder. I didn't put my arm around her, not because I was angry, but because I needed to feel where the space between us had grown. And it had grown a lot, but I still hoped. I hoped maybe now we had a shot at building something real, something that didn't have Stacy's fingerprints all over it. I was wrong, but that came later. For now, I took the win. I'd drawn a line in the sand, and for once, Emma stood on my side of it. I thought that meant something. Turns out it meant nothing. I thought kicking Stacy out would be the end of it. Stupid me. For a few weeks, it felt almost normal. Emma started cooking again. We had a couple quiet dinners, a few soft smiles across the table. She even came out to the job site once, brought sandwiches, kissed me on the cheek in front of the guys. They whistled, teased, and called me lucky. I felt something loosen in my chest for the first time in months. That's what made what happened next hit like a freight train. It was a Sunday. Warm, quiet. I was outside cleaning the gutters, sweating through my shirt, when I heard the front door slam. Emma stood in the doorway, arms crossed, jaw tight, wearing that stiff brunch dress she hated. Her eyes were hard, flat. I wiped my hands on my jeans and said, "Hey, brunch goes okay." She didn't answer. Instead, she said 5 words that twisted my stomach like barbed wire. "Were you with another woman?" I blinked, thought I'd misheard. "What?" Her hands were shaking. "Stacy saw you. She said she saw you at lunch last week with a brunette." Holding hands. I stared at her, dirt under my nails, sweat down my back, not even fully sure what day she was talking about. Then it clicked. Last Tuesday, I'd grabbed lunch with Greg and his sister, Natalie, at a diner near the site. She was in town from Dallas, and Greg didn't want to leave her alone while we ate. That was it. That was all it was. "Emma," I said slowly, keeping my voice level. "That was Natalie, Greg's sister. We had lunch after work." "That's it." Her lip quivered. "She said you looked close." "Stacy," I snapped. "You're taking Stacy's word over mine? Again?" "She said she saw it with her own eyes," Emma whispered, backing away like I was dangerous. "She wouldn't lie to me." I laughed, bitter, hollow. "She already has, for years. But sure, let's trust her over your husband." She didn't say anything, just stood there, shaking, like I'd hit her. I hadn't. I wouldn't. But words can do their own kind of damage. And what she just said, what she believed, cut deeper than anything Stacy ever could. "You didn't even ask me," I said. "You came home ready to burn this down, and you didn't even ask." Emma turned and walked upstairs, packed a bag, said she needed space. I didn't stop her. I watched her go without a word. She didn't kiss me, didn't hug me, just left. The next day, I got a text from an unknown number. It was from her lawyer. They were filing for divorce. No conversation, no counseling, no confrontation, just out. The silence after she left was louder than any fight we ever had. It echoed through the hallways, through the dinner plates that stayed untouched, through the bed that stayed cold. Then came the real gut punch. Stacy. She started talking, whispering, spreading her poison like she always did. Only now it wasn't private. It was public. Suddenly I had friends who stopped calling. Guys from work asking if I'd really done it. Emma's cousin unfriended me. Her mom stopped replying to texts. The lie had legs, long ones, and it was sprinting. I sat in my garage one night, lights off, door closed, just sitting on the concrete floor with a beer in my hand and silence wrapping around me like a noose. I wasn't crying. I don't cry, but I felt hollow, like everything I'd built was slipping through my fingers and I couldn't stop it. All because one woman, one bitter, insecure woman, decided to nuke my life for sport. And my wife handed her the match. I didn't beg. I didn't plead. I didn't chase Emma down or call her 100 times. I just sat with it. Let the rage settle in my bones like steel rebar. Because if I've learned anything in this life, it's this. You don't scream when they tear you down. You build, brick by brick. And when the time comes, you let the truth speak louder than their lies. People don't understand what silence can do to a man. Not just the kind where no one talks, but the kind where your name gets dragged behind your back and no one tells you to your face. That's where I lived for weeks. Emma didn't call, didn't text. She didn't even come back to get the rest of her stuff. A moving company showed up instead. Some guys I'd never seen, hauling out boxes labeled in her handwriting. One of them apologized when he saw my face. Said, "Man, I'm sorry. This feels wrong." Yeah. No kidding. Her lawyer's message was short, sterile. They were proceeding amicably, but advised me to cooperate to ensure a smooth separation. They always make it sound clean, like there isn't blood in the water. Meanwhile, Stacy's rumor kept spreading. Subtle at first. A text left on read. An invite that never came. Then it got bolder. People whispering at the hardware store. A friend from church giving me a weird half-smile, like he didn't know whether to shake my hand or walk away. I stopped going out unless I had to. Stopped picking up calls unless I recognized the number. Even my sister called one night and said, "What the hell's going on, Mike? Did you really cheat on Emma?" That stung. Not because she asked, but because she even had to. I told her the truth, plain and cold. Told her I hadn't done a damn thing wrong, and if Emma really believed I had, that said more about her than me. My sister believed me. Most people didn't. Even the family that once hugged me tight now kept their distance. Like betrayal was contagious. Like if they got too close, my mistake would rub off. I didn't sleep much, ate less, but not out of depression, out of something else. Something sharper, focused. I was waiting, watching, because deep down I knew. I knew there was no way Stacy just happened to see me with Natalie. I knew there was no way she'd kept her mouth shut for months and only now decided to drop a nuclear accusation. This wasn't random. It was planned. I started tracing it back. Conversations, glances, moments Emma would suddenly get cold after a visit with Stacy. All the little passive-aggressive digs that, back then, felt like white noise. Now they sounded like a damn siren. One night, I sat in the living room staring at our wedding photo. Emma in her dress, me in my suit, Stacy off to the side smiling, but just enough to make herself visible. Even in the photo, she couldn't just let us have the moment. I took the frame down, put it in a box, taped it shut. I wasn't bitter. Not yet. I was something else, something colder. Focused like a man building a foundation after a storm. Because of marriage, that was over. My name? My reputation? That still mattered. I could live without love. But I wasn't going to live with a lie wrapped around my throat. So I waited. Quietly. Patiently. Not to win her back. That door was closed. But to clear my name brick by brick. Because there's a difference between a man who lost everything and a man who's still standing in the wreckage with his hands clenched, waiting for the dust to settle. And I was the latter. It always starts the same, just another day. You're drinking cold coffee, checking the same 3 news headlines, thinking the worst of it is behind you. Then your phone buzzes, and everything changes. It was a Tuesday, mid-morning. I was off work that day. Union crew got weathered out from a highway expansion project. I was patching drywall in the hallway when my phone lit up with a name I barely remembered. Marissa Blake, one of Emma's old co-workers. We'd met a few times at events, seemed decent. I didn't even know she still had my number. The message was simple. "Hi, Michael. This is going to sound strange, but do you have time to meet? It's about Stacy." I stared at it for a full minute. 5 hours later, I was sitting in the corner of a half-empty cafe with her across from me, a manila envelope in her bag and something nervous in her eyes. "I didn't know if I should come forward," she said, fidgeting with her sleeve. "But this been eating at me, and now that you're separated, it just feels wrong." "Talk straight," I said. She took out her phone, unlocked it, and handed it to me. Messages. A screenshot thread. Stacy and Marissa. Late night venting between friends after one too many glasses of wine. I read slowly, methodically, and I'll never forget the one line that froze my blood. "If I can convince Emma he cheated, maybe she'll finally wake up and see what a joke he is." The message had a date, a time, a GPS tag. She hadn't seen anything. She hadn't even been near the diner that day. The whole story was made up, word for word. I scrolled. There was more. Stacy bragging, mocking Emma, calling her predictable, saying, "She always sides with me. She's too scared to lose me." It was all there. Lies, planned, written lies, and Emma swallowed them like gospel. I felt my jaw tighten until my molars ached. I didn't yell, didn't pound the table. I just handed the phone back and said, "Email me every screenshot you've got." Marissa nodded. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I looked her in the eye. "Don't be sorry. Be honest." And she was. "Send me a zip file an hour later." I called my lawyer before I even pulled out of the parking lot. "Full stop," I told him. "We're not rolling over. I've got proof the accusation was fabricated. I want that in the record. I want that in front of a judge." He asked for the files. I sent them that night. Then I poured a drink, sat on the back porch, And for the first time in weeks, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt like stillness before a storm. Emma hadn't just believed Stacy. She'd acted on it. Filed papers. Left. Spread the story. Let it stain every part of my life. All based on a lie someone typed at 2:17 a.m. with a glass of Merlot and a grudge. This wasn't about saving the marriage anymore. That was dead and buried. This was about me. About my name. About the principle that no man should be burned at the stake just because someone bitter needed a win. It wasn't the rage I felt anymore. It was clear. Emma had made her choice. Now I was going to make mine. And I wouldn't raise my voice doing it. I'd let the truth do the shouting. I picked the park because it was neutral ground. Open. Public. Safe if things got loud. But I didn't expect they would. Not from me, anyway. Emma arrived 10 minutes late, sunglasses on, hair pulled back like she was bracing for something. She scanned the benches until she saw me, then walked over slowly, like someone walking into a courtroom, not a conversation. She didn't sit right away. "Why now?" she asked. I looked up at her and motioned to the bench. "I'm not here to yell," I said. "I'm here to give you something." That caught her off guard. She sat. I took out the printed screenshots, every message time-stamped, organized. I didn't throw them at her. I didn't even push them across the bench. I set them down gently between us and leaned back. "What's this?" she asked. "Truth," I said. She hesitated, then started reading. It didn't take long. Her fingers trembled after the 3rd page. By the 7th, she was holding her mouth, and by the end, her face was pale. "This can't be real," she whispered. "It is." She looked up. "Why would she?" "You'll have to ask her that. I'm not here to explain to her. I'm here because you believed her without asking me a damn thing." Tears welled up in her eyes. But I didn't reach out. I didn't soften. I sat there with my arms folded, still and unmoved. You didn't call. You didn't check. You took her word and watched my life collapse around a lie. And you didn't blink. I thought. No. I cut her off. You didn't think so. You assumed. And you let your fear, or your guilt, or whatever twisted loyalty you have to that woman burn down everything we had. She started crying. Full, real tears now. But I'd seen too much. Sat in the ash too long. That kind of damage changes a man. I didn't know," she said, voice cracking. I didn't want to believe it, but she was so sure. She said she saw it. I shook my head. "You had a husband. A man who never gave you a reason to doubt. A man who took care of you, stood by you, defended you. Even when she was turning our house into her playground. She reached out. I didn't move. "Michael, please," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. We can fix this. I'll go to therapy. I'll cut her off. I already did. I swear." I stared at her for a long moment. Then I said, slow and clear, "This isn't about Stacy anymore. It's about you." "What do you mean?" "You didn't protect me. You didn't protect us. You folded the second someone said something that scratched your fear. And you let them define me. But I see it now. It's too late," I said. "I needed you to see it then." She cried harder. "Please, I'll do anything. Just don't give up on us." I stood up. "We're not broken. We're gone." She looked up at me, shattered. But I didn't give her a hug. Didn't give her a soft word to hold on to. I just said the line that had been sitting on my chest since this all began. "You didn't ask. You assumed. And now you live with the consequences." I turned and walked away. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. Because I knew the only thing worse than losing someone who loved you is realizing they never trusted you in the first place. I didn't scream. I didn't post rants. I didn't record some angry video or beg for sympathy. That's not who I am. What I did was simple. I attached the screenshots, every last one, and emailed them to a few mutual friends. No explanation. No commentary. Just a quiet subject line. "Figured you should know." Then I closed the laptop, poured a whiskey, and sat back to let the fire light itself. It didn't take long. The next day, I got a ping from Paul, Emma's cousin. "Holy sh**t. Just saw your email. I'm sorry I ever doubted you, man. Then another from Amy, who used to double date with us back in the early days. I feel sick. She really let that witch destroy everything. By the end of the week, half the people who had cut me off were crawling back with apologies. Not one of them deserved a reply, and I didn't give them one. Because this wasn't about them. This was about clearing the fog and watching what happened when Stacy's mask hit the pavement. Turns out, liars don't fall quietly. Stacy got dragged hard. People started comparing notes. Old friends connected the dots. How she'd ruined other relationships, twisted truths, pitted people against each other just to stay at the center of attention. Emma's co-workers stopped inviting her to events. Her social media dried up overnight. The comments turned cold, then silent. Rumor has it Stacy even got fired from her event planning job after a client backed out. Said they didn't want someone with integrity issues representing their brand. Karma's a quiet thing. Don't always kick your door in. Sometimes it just removes every chair from the room and leaves you standing there while the music dies. Emma moved back in with her parents. I heard it from a neighbor. She'd show up sometimes, eyes puffy, dragging herself into their front door like the walk itself hurt. I didn't follow her. I didn't text. She tried, of course. A long email. A voicemail I didn't listen to. One night she even pulled into my driveway, sat there for 10 minutes, then drove off without knocking. She was on the outside now, and that's where she'd stay. Funny thing about lies, they cost more than the truth ever could. And once the truth shows up, it doesn't just repair you. It exposes everyone who danced in the wreckage while they thought you were down for good. I wasn't looking for revenge. Not really. I was looking for clarity, dignity, and I got it. By staying quiet, by keeping my hands clean, by letting the evidence speak instead of my pride. It's easy to explode, to lash out, to throw fists when you're betrayed. But it takes a different kind of strength to wait, to outlast the lies and watch them turn to ash on their own. I wasn't the villain. I never was. I was the one they tried to erase. But I didn't need a stage to prove who I was. Just the truth. And a little patience. It had been a while since I thought about Emma. Not in the way that stung, at least. More like a healed scar you only notice when the weather shifts. The kind of pain that stops asking for attention. I was at my usual spot. Same back table, same black coffee, when I heard a familiar voice say, "Still nursing that bitter brew?" I looked up. Marissa. She slid into the chair across from me before I could even react. Same sharp eyes. Same noble shit energy. "You look different," she said. "I feel different." She smiled. "Thought you should know." Emma tried to make up with Stacy. I raised an eyebrow. Didn't go well. Stacy told her to grow up and stop blaming her for everything. Said the whole world was against her now, and she was done taking hits for other people's guilt. I let that sink in. "That's what she called it?" I asked. "Taking hits." Marissa nodded. Apparently, Emma cried. I got angry. Stormed off. "She'll survive," I said, sipping my coffee. "You think she regrets it?" I stared out the window. "Probably. But that's not mine to carry." Marissa leaned back, eyes studying me. "You really did it. Most guys would have lost it. Fought dirty, begged, whatever. You just took the hit and stood tall." I gave a half smile. "I've built things my whole life. You don't fix a cracked foundation by shouting at the bricks." She laughed. "You know that's not normal, right?" "Normal's overrated." We sat in silence a bit, just watching the world move. The clink of mugs, the hum of conversations, the peace I used to think I'd never get back. "Are you seeing anyone?" she asked casually. I looked at her, not with judgment, just curiosity. "Not yet," I said. "I'm good with quiet for now." She nodded. "Well, if you ever want company that doesn't come with drama, you know where to find me." "Appreciate that." She stood, gathered her things, then paused. "For what it's worth, you handled it like a man should." And then she left. I sat there for a long time after finishing my coffee. No bitterness, no anger, just a clean slate. The lie that tried to ruin me, it didn't win. The woman who believed it, she was left holding the pieces. And me, I wasn't trying to rebuild the old anymore. I was free, not in the flashy, dramatic sense, but in the quiet kind of way that hits hardest. The kind that says, I lost what I thought I needed, but I kept who I really am, and I have zero regrets about walking away.